Hey everyone, it's Cool here, and I've got an awesome guide for you guys today for the 10 random spells game mode. So in this mode you get a completely random book of 16 spells with Arcane Gate included. That's the one exception. You don't need the typically required level 1s or 2s to get the higher ranked spells, and in each one of these games you get 2 level 3s. And today we're going to go over 20 of the best spells to get in 10R, as it's typically called. Basically, these are the spells that can sometimes win you the game outright. If not, they can help you build a pretty nice advantage. So after we go through these spells, I'm going to go over 9 of the best tips and strategies that you can use to crush your opponents in 10R. And these are some tips that I've compiled by talking to all of the best minds of the game mode. So, basically me. Nah, I'm just playing. But I did talk to several people. Anyway, let's get right into the spells. We're going to start with Drain Bolt. So, Drain Bolt is a direct form of healing. You're going to cast it on someone, and you get 30 health, right? So, say I damage him with what, Brine Bolt? Oh, I missed. Say I get closer to him because I'm bad, and I damage him however I want to here, and then cast a Drain, you're going to get 30 health. Now, in books where you're not expected to bring healing, right? So, Drain is easy heal. You can do double drains, you can summon your minions, get a double heal off. It's just super useful to have. That's starting off the list of the best spells for number 1. And these are in no particular order, but now moving on to Rot Golem. So check out this little guy. We're just going to queue here, bring him out, and this guy is super versatile. Check this out. So you go to Rot Golem, you've got Scatter Rock, you've got Mega Boulder, you've got Mud Ball. You can use all of these. The biggest one that you can pressure your opponent with is the Mega Boulder. Also, like, super resistant to damage. You try to use any sort of particle type of attack on it. Look at that, it only did 12 damage. I try to use Deluge. Any of these sort of attacks used with droplets like Snowball, Deluge, Brine Bolt, they're not going to do anything. So, of course, I have the full Cease Familiar in this simulation, so it didn't even do any damage. It's kind of funny. But yeah, Rot Golem is huge on this list because it has Scatter Rock, which is a D-Tower, even D-Tower's Fortress, Mega Boulder, which is just huge damage, and Mud Ball, nice for trapping. This Wallop also, it can be nice to sink your opponents. Check this out. It's super powerful, actually has quite a bit of a knockback. Look at that. Whee! And he's gone. Alright, so that's number 2. Number 3 is going to be Drone. Drone is pretty sweet. I don't think I have it in this book, or do I? Yeah, here it is. Summon Drone. So what is so good about this little guy? Well, the answer is basically he's hard to kill, right? You're going to have Brine Bolt or something else that you're going to have to use, right? You can't exactly Water Ball it, right? Is that even going to kill? I don't know. Well, again, I have the Cease Familiar. Maybe I should swap that out. But, you can't really use any sort of small attack, like a Snowball or anything like that. It's just not going to work. It's going to be much less effective. And it's just in an easy free, 50 damage if you get that off. So you have this little Starbolt here. Especially if you're in Casino, you've got a lot of teammates. You just aim it, click it twice, it's a double bolt spell, right? And that's one of the best spells to have. More so in Casino, I guess, compared to 10R. But Drone is still pretty dang strong. So it's kind of, a brain dead spell. You just summon it and then move it and click, point and click, easy. Next on this list, for number 4, Cosmic Horror. Well, there's not much to be said about this guy. I'm just going to show you guys, how it really works. And I might go Grassy just to make this a little bit easier too. Let's see. Yeah, so we don't have Arma. So, Cosmic Horror, check this out. You think, okay, he looks pretty scary, inspired by the Cthulhu, or however the hell you say that, from RuneScape, I think. But is he actually scary? Well, the answer is yes. Because, let's say I have an opponent down here. Spawn. Alright, did he come through? Yep. Especially in Casino, you can get some sick combos with this because it has a huge AoE. use the Dark Matter Bomb. Check that out. Huge AoE, sucks him into a hole, and applies this grab pulse effect. Look at that. Say I was stuck in this hole, and then if you Q, well, that's another 80 damage. Good night. And you have 2 of these. So also keep in mind that like when you summon something, anyone on your team can use it if it's like a 5v5, 6v6, if it's not a 1v1 setting. So they can just huck a Dark Matter Bomb, do huge damage. It can produce some pretty surprising sinks as well. So, awesome spell. Next on our list, Magical Barrier. This is a really interesting one. So, let's see, I'll spawn it in here, Magical Barrier. Alright, so what does this do? Well, it pretty much absorbs particles. So, if you look at the description, which I actually don't think I can pull up right now, but oh, I was controlling the wrong player. But yeah, what Magical Barrier does is it will absorb particles. Look at that. It absorbs like 50 or something. I don't have the description on hand, but you can even throw, whatever you want at it. Let's see. So imagine placing this right under a Kano or above your head. Look at that. It just absorbed all the brine bolts. Not quite all the little, particles there, but it can absorb, I think it's up to like 50. And so, yeah, it can be, useful in a pinch. You just spawn it right above you, or if a Kano's below you, you might last like less than a turn. It'll maybe help a little bit, but still, can be good, mitigate the effect of an Arma. Next on this list, Waterlord. Well, you guys know what Waterlord is. What does it allow you to do? Why is it so useful in 1v1? Well, it's 500 extra health. Why the hell else is it useful? Look at this. You could literally do so much damage to me. The only thing though with the Waterlord is you gotta be careful that you don't summon it in a flashable position. Because watch. Let's say that this is flashable, although this second bomb's gonna go off, so I gotta wait. Yeah, let's say that this is a flashable spot. Where the Lord is, right? I don't know. Oh, maybe I gotta summon it a little bit differently. Let me just bring it up here. Waterlord, summon Waterlord. Okay, so got that done. I'm gonna have him gate up here. And so if you just summon a Lord, right, you have to be careful about the positioning, because if you're not, goodbye. And that is just one of the most satisfying things if you're on the other end of seeing the Waterlord go into the water, especially if the player's mounted on it too. But also one of the kind of dumbest, most tilting things if you're the person who allows that move to be made. So, alright, next one on this list is Nature's Wrath. Deflects all oncoming Kano projectiles. So we can actually hop into a Kano and do some Qs. Okay, and now let's say we want to put a Nature's Wrath right here. Nature's Wrath. Wait, summon. Summon? No, not summon. Yes, there it is. Okay, so check this out. Let's say I have the spell and I place it there, and maybe I'm chilling, here. Let's see, I need to get rid of this. Here. So, Kano comes, and am I in any danger? I don't know, we'll see. We're just going to do some Qs. Look at that. Okay, somehow one got through. I don't know how that is possible. Maybe it wasn't quite expertly placed. But, as you can see, look at all those projectiles going far right off to the edge of the map. And you're pretty much immune from anything. Certain things go through Wrath, like, I don't know, maybe arcane arrows, right? Let's see here. Does this go through? Yeah, it does. So arcane arrows does, and also some full power spells do, like Drain Bolt and others, if it's full power. But look at that, completely protected from Kano. You can protect yourself while simultaneously keeping this other Kano, wrathless. There's no wrath to control the movement of that, and maybe your opponent's over here just getting absolutely destroyed by this Kano, and you're just chilling, cracking open a beer or whatever you're doing. There's nothing to worry about with this spell. So super useful in the late game. You can stall with it, and that's about it for Wrath. Next one on this list looks like Black Hole. Alright, this is a super cool one too. A lot of you guys might actually not know about this spell, but here's how it works. Let's see. Boom. Alright. I didn't quite place it right, but... Oh, and because of that, I actually kind of screwed it up. So let me just hop in here again. Let me place this correctly. Black hole. Alright. Boom. Now, check this out. Q. Look at that. There's no limit on the projectiles. Look at this. It's incredible. I'm spamming Q right now. Okay, now it went on the other side, so, you know. Imagine, let's say we had another player, right, and you just have 2 black holes. Actually, I don't even have it in my book, so I can't do that, but it's completely just absorbing all of the projectiles, and it does like no residual damage. Not even a napalm is going to come into contact, and it stays until the user places another black hole. So, super awesome spell. You just place it under you. Don't get too close though, otherwise you'll sink. Because watch this. If I go into it, boom, I'm sunk. It's as if I'm in the water. It makes a little water, sound, and you got to gate back in. So, super useful spell for 10R to deal with Kanos, black hole. Next one on this list, Swaparoo. Swaparoo is pretty sick. I'm going to add it into my spellbook real quick so I can show you guys. It's a little bit harder to do using the dev, whatever you call that, the dev interface. I don't know what I'm saying. Let's see, Swaparoo, look at this. So let's say I'm getting pummeled by Kanos, right? I'm over here, and there's Kanos going, and I'm getting just destroyed, right? Oh, no problem. I'm just gonna swap. Boop. Nice, and that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good distance. Also, let's say your opponent was here, now you're over here, and they are the only ones who are gonna be in danger of the Kano. You're sitting pretty. You're looking real good. So it can be real nice to deal with Kanos as well. Swaparoo. Hopefully you guys come across this spell in your books because it's awesome. Floating Castle. This is one I would love to demonstrate, but I actually can't because it's bugged and it's disabled. But I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's floating and it's a castle. It's going to make it hard for opponents to aim spells toward you and detower you if they don't have the right spells, right? So you can just be chilling all the way up at the top of the map. Boom. And it is just going to be so difficult, especially if they don't have the right spells like a Scatter Rock or an Arrow or anything like that. They might just be able to do nothing to you, and you just do so much damage. And it's just, they're going to have a really difficult time dealing with you. Next on the list, Sphere of Healing. Well, looks like I have it here. You guys know what this does. Let's say I get damaged. Let's say it's like a favorable map gen. Maybe I could hide. And let's say like this was covered, right? Maybe we get into a board state that's something like this. So we got like a hiding spot, right? And so I teleport down here, and then I can just start spamming heal. Just go down here, spam the heal. I'm not gonna Q because I don't have gate up, but yeah, you can just heal. It's a real nice. How much health was that? I don't even know, but yeah, 25 healing. So point and click, super easy, and especially with all the damage that can come out from Kanos, it can be super clutch. Next one, another healing spell, Thanksgiving Dinner. Check this one out. I'm gonna use the dev client here, dinner, and it healed me. It heals for 60, which you can't see because I didn't do 60 damage. But let me actually go back to Grassy here. Yeah. So let's do some damage. Although I have the wrong familiar for that, so let's do this damage this way. Okay. So, oof, that's gonna really hurt. Whoa! I didn't mean to do that, but that's pretty funny. Alright, so Thanksgiving Dinner. Check this out. Heals 50. I thought it was 60, but it's 50. Maybe 60 with Holiday Familiar. I don't know. Who uses Holiday? But heals 50, you get 2 of them. That's 100 health. That's pretty good. Next spell on the list, Apparition. Apparition is pretty sick. Check this out. Apparition. Boom. Now look where I can move. Or not. Wait. Oh, because I'm pulsed. Yo, that's super interesting. I didn't know that you can't even be a ghost when you're pulsed. Really? Wow. God, that is so cool. But hey, now you guys know, you learned something new. I bet almost none of you knew that here who are watching. That's really a pretty unique feature there. So look at this. Say a Kano's on the side here. You just go to the middle of the map and you chill. Yeah, so what if you don't have anything to do? Also, if you have any arcane spells, you can use them. If you have any, what is this book? The Illusion. If you have any illusion spells, you can use them. Pretty sick. And it's going to persist for what, 3 turns, 4 turns? Let me check that real quick. Apparition. Become a phantom for 4 turns. Yeah, so pretty sweet. And super useful on the Kano map. Next spell on the list, Summon Dwarf. Check this out. So you're going to go spawn in here, and imagine a scenario where, let's say like, each one of these trolls is a player, and you're doing like a seriously huge casino game, and you've got so many different teammates and opponents and all this stuff, right? And I'll spawn a couple actual players just for fun. And alright, so you've got a dwarf out. Let's see, where am I? Okay, you've got a dwarf out. Actually, you don't, because I screwed this up and I used 2 trolls. But okay, 2 trolls. Spawn a couple people. Spawn there. Spawn there. Spawn there. Okay, so you queue to me. You get your dwarf out. And anyone can use it if you're in a team game, but it also is, useful in 1v1. And then your teammate switches to the dwarf. Let's say this is your opponent here, and you just go near him, and kablam, boom. Also a nice tidbit, good helpful information, a good thing to do before you use that kablam. Click this minor market here, use the dynamite, and I can actually show you guys that real quick. What the dynamite does is you're going to get into a game, and it will increase the time before the kablam goes off, and so the dwarf might survive, and that's 75 damage. Also, it knocks you far and wide. Check this out. So you just put it there. Boom. Oh, it didn't actually knock because I didn't aim it quite right there. Now this will knock me. Look at that. Like an arcane flash. Super cool, huh? So, a great spell to have. We're down to our last 5. Static Ball and Static Shield. Check this out. It's pretty obvious once you see what this does, how useful it is. Oh, I actually threw it. That's my bad. Alright, Static Ball. You're just protected for a turn. And the turn will pass in Sandbox, because I think it will. Or no, actually it does stay. Okay, so yeah, you're protected for a turn. Let's say you casted it, your opponent casted Deluge, you say, okay, whatever. And you know what? There's a bunch of Kanos around here. I don't have gate. Screw it. I'll just cast another Static Ball. And you can use up to 4 of them. And then brings me to my next spell real quick. We'll go over it. Static Shield. It's just a 4-turn, I think 4-turn. 4-turn static ball, pretty much. So, Static Shield. It's another shield, right? And so I casted it. That's 1, 2, 3 turns. Okay, so a 3-turn shield. The one thing you got to be aware of with that is that once your shield runs out, you're probably dead. If you've got like fireballs coming in at you, napalm, magma, all this stuff, deluge, like, you're gonna die. So pretty much it's like a last resort spell if you don't have any other options. And maybe you could teleport on your opponent's head before the shield's about to expire. Next turn, let's say they're trapped, next turn it expires and they just get blown to smithereens. And by a miracle, you might be able to survive and they would die, and that would be epic. I've seen it happen. So, alright. Third to last spell, Breeze. Breeze is super cool. Let me illustrate the power of Breeze real quick here. We're going to go with Flame Dragon. Summon Flame Dragon. And we're going to go with Summon Dark Knight. Alright, so check this out. So you face what direction Breeze will be casted, and then you cast it, and look at that. It's a good 4, 5, 6, 7 second breeze pretty much. Let me count how long that is. The DK is gone. The Waterlord, if it was over here, would be on the right, would be gone. The dragon is moved. It's flying, so it doesn't sync right, but okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's a good 5 seconds that it lasts. So it will, it'll fling your minions and also players. Also, you can imagine a bunch of napalm everywhere, right? Just breeze your opponent into the napalm. Good game. They'll go flying. It'll be awesome. You'll be laughing about it. Second to last spell, we've got Invulnerability Shield. This is pretty sick. I'll show it to you right now. Invulnerability Shield. Boom. Check this out. You can cast anything. Won't do any damage. Actually, I can't cast it, so it's a bit tricky. I gotta set it up differently. Of course, let's say that I have a teammate, right? So I cast Invulnerability Shield, which by the way lasts 1, 2, 3 turns. So I cast this, and it does what it says it does. Makes you completely invulnerable to all attacks. So let's say that I wanted to use this bomb again. Boom. Is that going to do any damage? Nope. Going to stay right at 250. Look, the only caveat is that you have to queue. You can't make any moves. You see I queued and it keeps it. So you can move though. Also you can use minions. That's another important thing. Like I can use a minion's attack and it will still persist. Of course I can't cast Waterlord, I casted it. But, let's say I have this up. And then I Q. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I can use Water Ball. I can use any attacks and the shield persists. If you yourself use an attack, then it'll disappear, right? So, super useful. It doesn't have to be said. Don't have to say much more about that, but imagine, yeah, you get so many Kanos in your way, you just cast that spell and you're safe for a few turns. Last spell on this list, Storm Spirit. Has its own windshield with no cooldown. It's super useful to deflect incoming Kano projectiles. In fact, one thing that you can do is get that baby out, and especially helpful in Casino when you've got a lot of players that you got to protect. But also, yeah, if you're mid-late game and a Kano's under you or on your side, you just position the Spirit next to the Kano, cast the windshield, and look at what it will do. I'm going to queue till the Kanos and cast this shield here. One turn. Let's see. So you just want to position it pretty much like slightly away, so slightly to the left of the edge of the volcano. So you see how I'm a little bit off center from that edge of the volcano, the center there. So, and you can see what it does, similar to a Nature's Wrath. It's like your own portable, tiny 25 health Nature's Wrath in a minion. And once again, just so you guys see, even though the Kano gets stronger, doesn't matter, still gets flown away. So check that out. Boom. Like, it will do no damage. Super useful. It also deflects a bunch of other projectiles. The shield lasts 3 seconds. So for example, if you use Ocean's Fury, you'll see that it works pretty well for a few seconds, but quickly gets overwhelmed. And in fact, I would have thought the Windshield did a little bit better on that against the Fury, but anyway, it's a super great spell. Try it in your own games. Well, if you happen to get it, use it, right? Won't be as helpful early game, but if you've got no turn 1 move, bust that baby out. Let's go. Alright, so that's all the spells. That's the 20 spells. Also, as I was watching this, there's an honorable mention that I forgot. And that's the 21st spell on the list, I guess. And it's the Mech Air. Look at this tower. It moves. You can have the sickest rush spells. You just move anywhere you want. Boom. Cast a Dark Matter Bomb right on your opponent's head. GG. No re. They delete their client. They're depressed. I know it because I experience it. And this is so fast. Also, it moves through Wrath. Look at this. Nature's Wrath. Look at this. Oh, I'm in the client. Alright. Look at that. I don't care. I don't care that you have Wrath. Screw your Wrath. Look at this. Oh, you're stalling? You're stalling over there? Yeah? Yeah, oh, you're stalling? You got your Wrath out, huh, bud? Yeah? Well. Boom. Get owned. Get owned, kid. Anyway, super sick. Forgot about this spell. And there's an honorable mention 21st one. And it's not really an honorable mention because it's so awesome. But just so you guys know, those are the best spells for 10R. Keep an eye out if you have them. And be aware how you can use them. Hopefully this is a great start to help you orient you in how to best use those spells. Moving on to the best strategies. We've got 9 of them here. I'll go over them as concisely and quickly, hopefully, as I can. Try to make this newbie friendly. If you made it this far in the video, please drop a comment, like, subscribe. If you love this type of content, let me know other types of guides, complete guides on different game modes that you might like. Time, map, whatever it might be, because I really like making these videos, and it would be super awesome to make more of them. Alright, so we'll jump into the strategies right here, and I'll be right with you guys. I'm back, you guys. I just had to get some game footage that I forgot to grab so that you guys can watch something while I go over the best tips for 10R. So let's jump right into these games and I'll get the tips started. We'll start with this game. And the first tip that you have on the list that you should follow is scan all the level 3s by pressing the backtick button. The backtick button is a little, looks like kind of an apostrophe next to the 1, to the left of the 1 if you're on PC. Also, there's a little tilde at the top, the little swirly icon. But you just press that button and it'll do this. And you'll see your opponent's level 3s. I see that he has Wrath and he has Apparition. And you want to do that as soon as possible. And it's one of the easiest things you can do as you get into 10R. You just press the key, and then you view that screen, and you can see all your level 3s. And a few things to note here. So if they have strong level 3s, like Invulnerability Shield, Black Hole, or Nature's Wrath, you do your best to rush them down quickly. Like I see Barwin's has Wrath, and he's got Apparition. I need to rush him down. And the idea is your opponents won't be able to get much value out of the Wrath or the Invulnerability Shield if they're nearly dead before turn 5, right? Also, if your opponent has any high damage dragons like Frost, Storm, Flame, you may want to hide in the mid game so they're not as much of a threat, right? Because dragons are big, they can't really move very well, they're not mobile. So, bringing me to my second tip, review your book during your opponent's time using F8. Keep an eye out for the best spells that we just went over, the top 20, I guess 21, right? And so you'll just press this button, and I'm not in the game, I'm looking at a replay, but you'll press this button and it will bring up this little interface here and you'll see all your spells. And then you can kind of plan, okay, I know that I have arrows I can dig. Oh, I've got Dark Matter Bomb, I can do some damage. I've got Swaparoo, I've got Windshield on the Storm Spirit. I've got Drain Bolt, that's really good, right? So, yeah, you can start to make a plan once you look at your spells, and you want to do this as soon as possible, right? And basically, it's important to think on your opponent's time, because 10R is like such a fast-paced game mode, and so you want to review your book whenever possible. And like I said, start to form a strategy. You want to think ahead. Why do you want to think ahead? Well, it's super huge in this mode because you've got absolutely no time to think on your actual turn. And as you're reviewing your book, you want to kind of determine if it's offensive or defensive. So, if it's defensive, you want to keep your distance, maybe tower up or hide. And if it's offensive, you want to close the gap between you and your opponent. So, let's use this as an example. Say I had this book, which would be pretty busted in 10 random. I know that I've got a digging spell, I've got dwarf for T1, I've got flash for T1, I've got flight prot for T1, I know that I have heal, I've got drain, I've got 2 forms of healing, I've got a rush spell, so I would probably want to stay top with this type of book. I've got static ball, I've got all the tools, right? Obviously this is a, video on the 20 best spells, and I made a book with a lot of those spells in it to show you guys, but just as an example, that's kind of how I would go about doing that sort of analysis in real time. So, tip 3, identify any turn 1 spells as quickly as you can. Alright, let's go to the second game and I'll explain this tip. So, identify any turn 1 spells as quickly as you can. So, turn 1 spells. Boom, F8. Alright, turn 1 spells. Flash, Spirit, Shining Bolt, Static Ball, Dwarf. Those are a few, right? Flight Prot. That way I know when I'm zoning in, let's say that my opponent goes first, then I can know, okay, when they are done, I'll respond with any of these moves. And it'll reduce a lot of stress right as you start the game, if you know what you're going to do on your first turn. If you go first, I wouldn't recommend using F8 to scan your spell book because it's going to be at the bottom, just right above the chat box, right? And you can also see that all of the spells that aren't turn 1 are going to be, blacked out. You're not going to be able to use them. So it's super useful if you're going second to use F8 and identify those spells. If not, like I said, you just scan your spellbook, use maybe 3 or 4 seconds, and then make your move. And you gotta move. Yeah, move pretty quickly, otherwise, well, you'll find out what you're gonna end up doing. And later in this list, we'll have a tip around that, actually. Anyway, moving on. Tip 4, if your book has decent damage and a D-tower, what you want to do is play aggressively. So having a D-tower means basically you can pressure your opponent really well. And you combine that with decent damage like a spear, mega, maybe something like Brine Bolt, and you're going to have your opponent on the ropes. So let's say they have Fortress and you have Scatter Rock. That can D-tower a fortress. Pretty much nothing else can. And so that'll be a great thing to recognize if you've got Scatter Rock. You can be fairly aggressive. D-tower, you got 4 of them. Unless your opponent has 4 towers, then you're going to be in pretty good shape. Also, once you get to turn 3, if you have some good damage, like I said, Spear, Mega, DMB, you're going to be in business. Your opponent might teleport away, which is going to be pretty likely, right? In that case, you could choose to teleport to them, but I would be pretty careful about that. It could be risky because they could have a Dark Knight. In fact, this happened to me last week. I was playing a random spells game. I teleported close to my opponent because I wanted to finish him. And guess what happened? They put a Dark Knight on my head, and they killed me. I died. GG. And obviously you can't... oh, actually, a quick tip about the Dark Knight before I move on to that is that if you have DK, you can hide, and you can try to bait your opponent to teleport to you or near you. So you can't do that immediately, right, because DK's turn 5, but you might be able to catch your opponent off guard later in the game. Also, if you have an aggressive brook with a lot of melee spells, like Snowball, Spear, Snare, Strike, things like that, Brine Bolt, do your best to trap your opponent or force them to gate into a tight spot, and then you can join in and keep the pressure up, right? Keep using those spells. Get their health down to 0, So, that's it for our 4th tip. 5th tip is going to be if your book has a bunch of towers, play defensively and keep your distance. So the basic idea here is with several towers, you're going to still want to fight for position in the middle of the map, but you might be able to afford for a few early turns to go to the side end tower before the Arma, comes around. You're going to be out of range of your opponent, right? As long as you're out of range, then it could be a good play. If you have towers and a digging spell, though, I would go immediately to the middle tower and then start using your arcane arrows, summon your dwarf or whatever you have, right? As long as your opponent has trouble getting to you or can't detower you, this is going to be a really advantageous position. So keeping high ground also helps a lot with this, because your opponent won't be able to get to you to do damage. And yeah, the basic idea is your opponent shouldn't be able to reach you in 10 seconds. If they can't reach you in that 10-second time frame, then you have the opportunity to, summon your defensive minions. If they do happen to detower you, you just retower up if, it's on recharge or you got multiple towers. It's easier said than done, but that's the principle, and if you have the right spells, it's going to work great with the defensive book. Brings me to tip, what is this, 6? Yeah, tip 6. If your book is terrible, stall for Kano or go ultra aggressive. And one moment, let me get to the third game. There we go. So if your book is terrible, stall for Kano or go ultra aggressive. Your book is going to be terrible. You're going to have a terrible book likely more often than not unless you're DX. So when that happens, you have two options, either stall for Kano or go ultra aggressive. What does this mean? Well, you're going to kill your opponent before they kill you, or you're going to hide immediately. When you end up in this situation, I would recommend, don't get too discouraged, right? Everyone has terrible books, and chances are when you queue up again, you might have a better book the next game. And 10R is very much a numbers game, so you never know what you're going to get. But yeah, you're going to have a terrible book. Don't be thinking you're perfect. Yeah, it's really going to be much of a roulette when you're playing 10R. Brings me to my next tip. We're going to go with prioritize positioning toward the middle of the map. So what does this mean? Well, Kanos appear on the sides, right? Turn 10 comes around and you've got a Kano on the left, then another turn comes by and you've got a Kano on the right, then you've got two Kanos on the left, two Kanos on the right, and they kind of converge to the middle, over time. And so the best thing you can do to give yourself a good chance to win is to compete for mid-map position. Once turn 10 hits, all hell breaks loose, Kanos unleash fury, it's absolutely crazy, right? But you want to be comfortable in the middle, either hiding in a tower, using minions to block the Kano, things like that, right? If you end up on the sides and turn 10 hits, you're going to have to get super lucky that no Kanos come. You're going to have Magical Barrier, you're going to have Storm Spirit. With the Windshield, you're going to have a lot, right? And this can happen through turn 20 or sometimes even longer. You'll have Kanos on the left side, but it's super rare. So in short, go toward the middle and you'll have less to worry about turn by turn. And 10R is already harder than it already is. When you have to defend from Kano and make a move in 10 seconds, it's going to be super tricky. Alright, let's get another game going. There we go. Or was that the one that we just played? Maybe. Let's see. We'll go with this one. Alright, so the next tip on the list is avoid queuing as much as possible. This kind of goes without saying, right? Queuing is going to be the most difficult thing to avoid, especially if you are not that experienced at 10s, but all you can really do is practice, right? Get better, get those reps in. It can be frustrating, but the work does pay off, right? Just like in anything in life. And sometimes, though, too, you're going to have absolutely no spells. Nothing you can do, and you're just going to have to queue. But the tricky thing is, the biggest lesson is, when you do have something, use it. If you queue in a position where you have a move that should be very good for you, and you queue, that's going to give your opponent an amazingly huge amount of momentum. So if you're going to queue, try and do so in a position where it's not really punishable, with an immediate win. They can't capitalize on it, right? And always remember to think ahead as far as you can, so you do more moving and less thinking when your turn comes around, right? So the last tip on the list, closing out this video, is dig early and dig often. So what does that mean? Well, use digging spells. What are those? Well, arrows, dwarf, could be anything. Could be Shining Bolt, could be Raise Dead, could be Drain Bolt, could be Sanctuary, right? Because it makes that huge little, I say huge little, it makes that huge circle, breaks a lot of terrain, right? Could be, Swapperoo's not really digging, but you could technically, dig yourself into the terrain with Swapperoo. But yeah, use those digging spells. It's vital to success in 10R. Other spells like Dwarf, yeah, Arcane Arrows, Flash too, obviously. They're just going to allow you to take control of the middle of the map super fast, and you're going to make your own hiding spot away from all the Kanos, right? Swapperoo is great too. You can tell the inside land. Even if you don't have a tower, if you go to the middle of the map, use your digging spell, it's going to be a great play most of the time. Keep in mind though, your opponent could teleport to the hole that you made, right? So always have a game plan if they take your spot. Maybe they teleport in, they summon a minion, or they teleport in, and maybe you respond with DK and you just win immediately. You know, you don't know what your opponents have, so it can be pretty back and forth, topsy-turvy game mode. But if you dig early, your opponent's not going to have their big ticket spells. They're not going to have their Mega Boulders, their DMBs, you know, their Dark Knights, their Waterlords. So they're less likely to teleport straight away into a hole. And they also don't know what you have, so they could teleport and you could just, you know, color spray them for 130 damage. Who knows? But that's going to round out the list for 9 tips. And also the 21 spells, I believe it was. The 21 best spells for 10R. Just go through them real quick once again. It's going to be Drain Bolt, Rot Golem, Drone, Cosmic Horror, Magical Barrier, Waterlord, Nature's Wrath, Black Hole, Swapperoo, Floating Castle, which is now bugged, Sphere of Healing, Thanksgiving Dinner, Apparition, Summon Dwarf, Static Ball, Static Shield, Breeze, Invulnerability Shield, Storm Spirit, and Mac Air. And just so you guys have a little recap of all these tips, you're going to want to scan all your level 3s. First tip, review your book during your opponent's time using F8 and keep an eye out for all those best spells. Identify any turn 1 spells as quickly as you can. If your book has decent damage in the D tower, play aggressive. If it doesn't and you have towers, play defensively, keep your distance. If your book's terrible, stall for Kano or go ultra aggressive. Pray, I don't know. You know, talk to DX. See, you know, maybe he can rub off some of his luck on you. I don't know. Prioritize positioning toward the middle of the map. Avoid queuing. And dig early and often. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I would love any feedback or suggestions on any aspect of the video. And drop a comment and like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I will see you all in the next video. Have a great day.